Hiya everyone, Auntie Lexi here. It's quite rare for me to replay games, but when I do, you know it's gotta be something special. Replayability means value to me. Bang for the buck, sure, but also emotional payoff, surprise, and depth. So I cooked up a list of games that you're sure to want to replay, no matter how you define it. And if you've ever found yourself replaying one of my videos, then you definitely need to hit that subscribe button. We're building a community where we discover new favorites, play through meaningful stories, and find joy in sharing it together. Persona 4 is the game that brought me back to JRPGs, not because it was flashy or revolutionary, but because it invited me into a quiet, unfamiliar place, rural Japan. You're just a student, staying for a year in the sleepy town of Inaba. But what starts as an ordinary exchange becomes something unforgettable. You form bonds, you save classmates, you hunt down a serial killer, and by the time it was over, I found myself crying when I had to leave. What makes it so replayable isn't just the setting or its amazing music, it's the people. The social links let you dive deep into who these characters are and watch them grow alongside you, day by day, season by season. There's always someone new to prioritize, someone you didn't quite see the first time, or a social link you missed because of a single choice. And yes, there is a romance that you can totally botch. I've played Persona 4 4 times already, and I wouldn't be surprised if I go for a fifth when the remake comes around. It may not be as flashy, horrific, or ambitious as other entries in the series, but it's got something even more rare: heart. You can play Persona 4 Golden today on PC, Nintendo Switch, Vita, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. And the remake, Persona 4 Revival, comes out in 2026 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Triangle Strategy is one of those rare JRPGs where your decisions don't just feel important, they are important. Most games will throw you a new line of dialogue or an alternate cutscene, but here, entire chunks of the story shift, battles change, characters you fought beside might leave, with new ones taking their place. What really stunned me was during my second playthrough, when I made completely different decisions, I suddenly started meeting characters I'd never seen before, some of whom I missed entirely the first time. It wasn't just a different ending that I got, it was a different journey. With multiple endings and a new game plus that carries over your progress, Triangle Strategy practically begs for a replay, not out of obligation, but because the story you didn't get is just as compelling as the one you saw. You can play Triangle Strategy on Nintendo Switch and PC. Fire Emblem Three Houses is one of those games where, the moment I finished it, I knew I wasn't done. Because truthfully, I'd only seen a fraction of what it had to offer. At the very start, you choose whether to align with the Black Eagles, Blue Lions, or Golden Deer. And no matter which house you pick, the game deliberately withholds major story details and character perspectives that only surface in the other routes. But I want to be clear that this feeling isn't due to a fear of missing out. It's because of how truly memorable and deeply written its characters are. And when you do decide to choose a different house, not only will you get new juicy tidbits, but the new Game Plus system makes diving back in a breeze, while the flexible class system keeps every run feeling fresh and interesting. Each character can be trained and reclassed in wildly different ways, so there's always something new to try, whether it's for story, strategy, or sheer curiosity. You can play Fire Emblem Three Houses on Nintendo Switch. Radiant Historia takes the promise of time travel in Chrono Trigger and runs with it, transforming it from a narrative flourish into the very structure of how the game plays. Rather than a single branching timeline, you jump between two parallel histories, using knowledge from one to influence the other. It's not just a clever gimmick, it's a satisfying mechanic that constantly rewards your memory, experimentation, and curiosity. What makes Radiant Historia stand out is how it bakes replayability into the gameplay loop itself. Instead of replaying the whole game for one new outcome, you're constantly revisiting and rewriting moments to push deeper into the story, uncover alternate outcomes, or change fates that once felt set in stone. It's a story about regret and the power of second chances, all of which feel earned because you're the one making them happen. Radiant Historia might not have the cultural cachet of other time travel RPGs, but fans who played it know just how smart, layered, and rewarding it really is. You can play Radiant Historia on Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS as Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology. Chrono Trigger is a beloved classic, and one that was way ahead of its time. Back in the SNES era, very few RPGs had branching endings, and Chrono Trigger used time travel to give you the illusion that nearly everything could change. What you did, who you saved, and how you traveled through time all felt like they could rewrite the entire future. The choices you made, when to tackle events, whether to save certain characters, and how to engage with the story's many optional scenarios could lead to one of over a dozen distinct endings. As a kid, I remember being completely awestruck by how something I did hours earlier could ripple into a wildly different outcome. It's not just a narrative structure that gives Chrono Trigger replay value. It's the pacing, the visuals, and the sense of wonder baked into every story. This is one of the most beautiful games to ever grace the SNES, and even decades later, it still holds up. The PlayStation release added anime cutscenes, which have been included in most modern ports and served to deepen key moments. But even beyond the endings, Chrono Trigger hides all kinds of secrets, from powerful optional bosses to the iconic developer room, a true badge of honor for anyone who digs deep enough. Like the very best RPGs, it's not just the world or the story that brings you back. It's the desire to revisit these moments with fresh eyes, to uncover what you missed, and see how your choices shape the journey all over again. You can play Chrono Trigger today on PC, Nintendo DS, iOS, and Android. 100 Line Last Defense Academy might look like another Danganronpa-style death game at first glance, but it quickly reveals itself to be something far more ambitious. Yes, it's a tower defense RPG at its core, but it's also a multi-genre narrative experiment with a staggering 100 endings. And these aren't just small variations. Each one can dramatically shift tone, structure, or even genre depending on how things unfold. What makes it so replayable is that you're not just chasing one perfect outcome. You're unlocking different versions of what the story could be, each shaped by how you navigated its branching paths and layered mechanics. The writing might seem abstract at times, but that's part of the charm. It needs to stretch wide enough to support 100 possibilities, and somehow it pulls it off. Trying to see all 100 endings might sound like a nightmare, but seeing even a handful makes you want to dive back in just to find out what other bizarre or brilliant paths might be hiding. And who knows, maybe Danganronpa is secretly tucked away in one of them. You can play 100 Line Last Defense Academy on Nintendo Switch and PC. Nier Replicant is a game that completely caught me off guard. When I got the first ending, I didn't even realize that there were multiple endings, and I definitely wasn't prepared for what came next. No spoilers here, but let's just say that everything I thought I understood about the story got turned upside down. You think you're doing the right thing, saving your loved one, fighting the bad guys, doing what has to be done. But when you go back through the game again, new cutscenes start appearing, and they reframe everything. It's not just that the story gets deeper, it's that your actions get recontextualized in a way that forces you to reconsider what you've been doing all along. Few games have made me feel the weight of a replay like Nier Replicant, which made for one of the most impactful replays for a game I had ever experienced. You can play Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139 on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. These games are so replayable, I wouldn't blame your backlog for getting a little jealous. But hey, some games are just worth coming back to, again and again and again. What about you? What's a game you find yourself replaying from time to time? Doesn't have to be an RPG. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your favorites. Want to keep the conversation going? Join our community over on Discord at dsc.gg/backlogbattle. And if you'd like to support the channel, I am a trans creator trying to help people discover more games worth playing, and your support on Patreon goes a long way. You can learn more at patreon.com/backlogbattle. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.